Hey everyone, Solis here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into a really important hook which is useMemo. And I think useMemo is the most easiest hook between all the React hooks. And I promise you, after this video, you're gonna agree with me. We are going to talk about how to use it, when to use it, and why we need to use useMemo the simple way and of course completely. Then let's go. So what exactly is useMemo? useMemo is a React hook and his job is to optimize the performance if we have a performance issue. But why and when that performance issue happen for us? In React, we have re-rendering, right? If you update a state or prop, React component gonna re-render to show us the new update things in browser. That's a cool thing, that's great. But think about that if you have an expensive function with expensive calculation in your component, for each render, for example, you update a state or update a prop, that function gonna execute again, and again. And it takes time to do that, and it could make a problem and can hurt performance, right? Let's see an example to find out how that performance issue happened for us. Let's see. All right, now I have a very simple application here, two pieces of states. The first one is dark, and the value is true or false. And I'm using is dark right here, and if for changing the background of this section. If is dark is true, it's gonna return BG black, we change the background to dark. If it's not true, it's false, it's gonna return BG white, which change the background to white color. And we need a button here to change theme and update it to true or false. Alright? If it's true, it's gonna change to false. If it's false, it's gonna change to true. Alright, let's see that. If I refresh the page and click on change theme, we can see that it happened really fast and quick. Right? Cool. The other one, again, we have a state. The name is count. It's a number, and I just displayed the value of this state right here. And again, we have a button, and we update this state through this button. If I click on this button, we're gonna increase the value of that one by one. Let's see that. If I click on this button, you can see that it gonna goes up really fast. We have no issue here, no performance issue, but let's enter the performance issue to see what will happen. Let's go. So here is our expensive function. Let me explain it to you. It takes a number and it just double the number and return it, nothing more. I just put a like here to show you how and when it's gonna execute, and after that a for loop to simulate heavy calculation, because it's gonna execute 1 billion times. It does nothing for us, it's just gonna execute 1 billion times, and it takes time to do that. After that, we're gonna double the number and return it. Here I just use this function and pass the count value to that. All right, it gonna goes into that this function and like for us calc, and after that it's gonna execute this for loop, and it takes time, good amount of time of course, and then it's gonna return the double value of this count number and then put it into double variable, and here at the end we're gonna display it to browser. Let's see that. If I refresh the page, we can see that yes, everything worked fine. But if I click on increase button, yes, everything update. But did you see that? Did you see the delay? I click again. It updates with a delay. Of course, let me show you my mouse here. I click it very fast. No clicking. You can see that it updates with a delay. If you click on the change theme, again, you can see the delay too, right? And this is our problem, and we need to solve that. Now, we know the problem, we create a performance issue, and let me show you what is the reason, and then we're gonna solve it with useMemo. Let's go. So the reason is re-rendering. Let me show you. If you update this state here count, it's gonna re-render this component, and it's gonna execute this function again. If you update this state, again, you have a re-render and this function gonna execute again. If you update any state or any props here, this component gonna re-render and this function gonna execute. But do we need to execute this function for each render? Of course not. Let me show you. If you update this state count, because we are passing it the value of that to this function, yes, we need to execute this function to give us the double number of it, right? But are we using isDark in this function? Or do we pass the value of that to this function? Of course not. Then we can prevent to execute this function when we are just changing isDark, because we don't need to execute this function. There is no relationship between them. There is no connection, right? And that's what exactly useMemo do for us. useMemo comes like a hero and it's gonna cache the value of this function and use the cached value for the next renders. How? useMemo comes and depend the executing of this function to this count value, because we need to execute this function just when the count value change. All right, let me show you the useMemo hook and the structure of it. Let's go. Now let me introduce you to useMemo structure, but before that I want to show you this function gonna execute for each render. If I go back to browser, if I click on increase, we're gonna change the count value and you can see that this function gonna execute, right? If I change theme, the function gonna execute again, but we don't need to execute this function if we change theme because there is no connection between them. And we're gonna prevent this executing with useMemo. Let's see that. I'm just put useMemo here. We need to import it from React, and it's gonna take two different arguments. The first one is function, and the second one is an empty array, which is the dependency. So it's really easy to use it because you just need to pass the expensive function instead of this. You can copy it and you can pass it just here, right? And it's gonna return, useMemo gonna return a value for you just like before, and you can put the value of your function again into that variable, double variable, right? And let's see what will happen now. Then go back to browser and refresh the page. You can see that now if I click on increase, it gonna goes up really fast, but the function never happened again. If I click on change theme, the problem solved, but the function never happened again. We don't need to execute function when we are changing theme, and that's cool. But we need to execute that function when we are increasing the count value here. So we can pass the count value here for dependency. Now useMemo knows it needs to execute this function just when this count value, this state change, and never execute it again, but just this count value change. Let's see that. If I click on increase here, it's gonna execute the function because we depend this function to the count value. You can see that, yes, everything works fine. If I change theme, you can see that the function never execute again, and it works fine and really fast. And now that's a good performance, right? Cool. And the last thing I want you to know about useMemo is useMemo will cache the returned value from a function somewhere in memory, right? And it takes some space to cache it. Then you need to know that you should use it when you really need it. Like here, we have a performance issue and we use useMemo to optimize the performance, right? Otherwise, you shouldn't use useMemo too many times in your application because it can take so much space from your memory and it can itself hurt your performance. Then use it when you really need it. So this was everything you need to know about useMemo, how to use it, when to use it, and why we need to use useMemo. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to watch the other videos and make sure to subscribe my channel and leave a comment down below for me. See ya.